Ian Wright, thanks for joining us. Nice to have you.
Pleasure.
Really appreciate you coming down to see us and taking the time out of your day.
Well, it's good to see you guys.
Thank you. Straight in.
Yep.
What does AT&T favour? Are you product, price or quality?
Quality is the most important, I guess, but price is a massive factor in today's market. But quality has a longevity with customers.
Yes.
If you're driving the price down all the time, the quality of that product is usually poor,
right?
Because the price is low, and the customer may not come back.
Okay.
So by having the quality of the product at a good commercial price, you sort of know there's going to be a little bit of a premium price, but quality, it retains customer. So we know where our products are going with our contracts is that it has to be right. We can't compromise quality. And we're always up against price. It's always the same, and you can always find something cheaper. There's always this, good, better, best.
Yeah.
We do better and best.
Right, okay.
We try to do that, so we try not to go down to a sort of a price band. But sometimes, what the classic commodity items, I think there's wood screws. I think one of your previous people commented on that. Now we become it's a commodity product. Yeah. But we have to be careful we don't compromise quality, because ultimately, the end user pays the price if they have an issue on site. It costs them long term because they've got to go back and fix it. It's either the wholesaler's got to pay the price or the manufacturer's got to pay the price.
Absolutely.
So somewhere there's got to be an acceptance that quality of the products we're supplying and our reputation is key. So certainly quality around a good commercial agreement is always preferable.
Okay.
But you can't always compromise that to the quality, certainly.
Okay, good. And I mean, I know we ran through the questions again before we started. I might throw the odd one in, so forgive me for that. But there is a question I'm going to ask you, but I will stick to the list for the next one. Have you got any examples of frustrations, or what are the main frustrations to AT&T when you have product quality issues?
We don't have that many because of the ethos we have. Yeah. We try to stick with the brand. So we don't have that many problems per se. It tends to be site problems where the contractors experience a problem on site, not necessarily they're doing, but the greater scope of, painters and decorators, plasterers, plumbers, they're all on site. Yeah. So sometimes it's not actually the product, it's per se, it's something that's happened on site. So because of what we do, we don't really have that quality issue where products are coming back. There may be product recall from a manufacturer. Right. There are always issues. Yeah. But because of the way we operate, the relationships we have with our manufacturers and suppliers, we go back to them and we'll go, look, we've got a problem with this one. 9 times out of 10, it's, it goes away for quality checks and the usual things. But we tend not to have too many issues because of how we work. But over the years, there's been many. I know where we've supplied cable where it's a 95 metre run and it's supposed to be 100 metre cable. Right. And the cores are stuck together because it's it's been imported from somewhere. So when you're dealing with certain suppliers, you take that risk. So over the years, I've learned to make sure that the people we deal with have the continuity and the quality, and looking at your quality room. Yeah, you're certainly way up there with the people who I've seen do the checks on the products that are coming in. So over the years, loads of issues, but generally with AT&T, it's been good because of the suppliers we deal with. Okay,
I mean, you're talking there about, and I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, so feel free to correct me, but you referenced a previous guest. I'm assuming you're talking about Tony Howard. Yep. And Tony was very much in this commoditization's almost got out of control.
Totally. Yeah.
Do we need to get back to brands? It seems like that's the kind of approach that AT&T are taking.
Tony's probably been in the industry a little bit longer than me. I started 88, but I was brought up on brands. Cable were all brands, or the cable management were brands. So when I first started, the brands were very, very strong, and we allowed those brands to disappear. I mean, the manufacturing in the UK is almost gone now. Yeah. From when I first started in the industry. So the commoditisation of a lot of products, it is there. Yeah. cable ties. You know, people say it's a commodity product, but actually that there are so many factors that can make a good cable tie and a bad cable tie. Temperature. You know, people moan about them, but you're buying a cable tie that will snap.
Yeah.
But you buy a better one for maybe 50, 60p a bag more, you don't have the problems. Now, it doesn't seem a lot, but they're the sort of issues where the commoditisation has become problematic in the industry because of we just drove down to the price rather than looking at the quality and why we're paying a little bit more for a product.
Absolutely. Does it scare you?
Yeah. Because these products are not only going into big commercial homes, they're going into people's houses.
Yeah.
So ultimately, the products that are being fitted, I'm quite lucky, like yourselves, we're in the industry for electrical, so we kind of understand what's a good consumer unit, what's a good cable, etc. But if I'm talking to the plumbing world and the heating, they've got tighter regulations, so the people installing those products are a little bit more. They're in a far tighter constraint of what they can and can't supply.
Right.
But outside of that, I wouldn't know necessarily if the bricks and the mortar that they're doing essentially with are the top quality. So we're all at risk of accepting that's the bottom line price. But there's a reason that it's 20% cheaper than somebody else because of using products, and sometimes it's labour.
Yeah.
But certainly in our industry, I think there's a fear of putting in a product because it's price driven above the quality. There's a happy medium ground, like yourselves, good product, a fair commercial deal, and that's what we all strive for. But while we allow products to be driven down on price and commoditise things, because 20mm conduit, 25mm conduit is almost commoditised now.
Yeah,
really is.
It really is. Yeah.
And it's you shouldn't be. You wouldn't start looking at what you guys do and understanding the quality process and making sure the stamps are all on the conduit. It does start to make you think. And I didn't until Larry really, and I started to look at this on why you were a little bit dearer than certain people, and then you understand. I'm going, that makes sense, and I understand it, and it's that education to, our contractors and the specifiers really need to understand. That's why we are a little bit dearer, and a lot of wholesalers do the same. So we're not on his own.
Yeah, so I mean, there seems to be a bit of a. I wouldn't know where to put this in the demographic, but there seems to be a bit of a predisposition towards that race to the bottom mentality. I mean, like you said there, tube is basic, conduit tube is practically commoditized now. And that's part of the battle for us. MetPro is metal products. We know that. It's our bread and butter. It's what we've done since day one. So we know what we're doing. And that's like a major part of the battle for us, is getting that through to the customer and help it. Like you've said, you sat down with Larry to understand just exactly why. And you're not, you might be paying a bit more in some instances, but it's not for a comparable product.
No.
So okay, very interesting.
Yeah, and it's the education of the hardest bit is educating somebody why we are dear on a quote, and we train our guys to do that. We say to them that the reason is our channel is dearer is because of the thickness, and you end up de-engineering a product. That's usually why steel is cheaper, because there's probably less content. The processes are slightly different, and it's coming from a source where there are cheaper labour. Many factors, and that's a compromise. So do we want to supply products into our contractors that is inferior? No, but it's educating them. It's a hard task because they're under pressure as well. So we appreciate this is a whole chain thing. It's not just us, it's not just you, it's not just the contractor. The whole chain has to reevaluate quality above price.
Okay. So are you putting in? Sorry, this is another off the page question, but are you putting an emphasis on upskilling the AT&T team from a technical perspective to some degree?
Best as we can.
Yeah.
We do like the EDA modules, which give the guys all a basic understanding. They've all got lots of experience in the industry, so they've been in the industry a long time. But when we get down to the technical, I had this one with Ricky, our office manager. We were quoting on some channel, and we quoted your channel, and we were slightly out, and it wasn't until I went down to it a little bit with him, and we got the spec sheets.
Right.
And it was the load span at 6 meters was the massive difference. So a short distance, there was nothing in it. But when we had a 3 meter run or more, the capacity was huge.
Yeah.
So we had to. So we then sent them to our contractor, who went, "Oh, okay, the installation requires that these are 3 meters. So I better go with the MetPro one because the other one I'm not sure will take the load." So we had to do our little bit of homework, get the data sheets from yourselves and another source, send them over to the contract, say, look, that's the one on the price.
Mm-hmm.
We're happy to supply that if you want that, but this is the one we keep, and this is why we keep it. We send it over, and then we allow the contractor to see the difference, and that contractor chose your product.
Great.
But we can't do that on every single one. It was only because it was a big job that Ricky sort of picked the phone up to me and asked the question. But that will go on 100 times a day in every wholesaler across the country. So that's the difficulty, is being able to educate the contractor and giving them the true understanding. Because they've got 1,001 products to deal with as we do. So that's what we try to do. And that's a difficult education, but we do that. We have supplies in all the time, not just about new products, but education on what they do and why we should err towards those guys on their products.
I'm wondering if manufacturers, I know there's a lot of manufacturers out there that do a lot, and we're certainly trying to do our big platforms, like this being one example, but I'm wondering if we need to start running tech talks or getting involved in things like that.
I think more often. I think the ECA, the NICIC are critical in educating the contractors. I mean, that's the bit where the manufacturer, whoever they are, has a better chance of education of the contractor installing, who can then educate the specifier, and again yourselves getting into the specifier. So the education has to be all the way through the chain. As much as we try to push that, ultimately, if the end user doesn't appreciate why, and it's down to price, we lose the order. So we walk away because we won't do that sometimes. But that education from the manufacturing world, like yourselves, and I know there's a lot of guys do that. There are, but that is important as much as educating the wholesaler.
Okay, great. Food for thought, definitely. Do you think that as an industry we do enough to call out quite a strong term, so I'll say highlight or raise awareness of inferior or non-conforming product?
I think we try. I think we do try. I think every wholesaler will try to do the right thing, but ultimately, if it's winning a job or not losing a job, the contractor will make the decision. Sometimes the wholesaler will make the decision on what they supply. I accept that, but I think it's legislation. I think it has to come right from the top down, so that the everything is tighter. We're too loose in what we allow to come into the country from imports. So there has to be tighter legislation, I think, to give us better control through the whole industry. So no matter what we try to do, there's a requirement, I think, from higher powers to force that through. But do we do enough? We try, but we're not there yet. We're a long way off, because we know there are, I get phone calls all the time from somebody offering me a container of steel conduit.
Wow.
And lighting is a nightmare, all the time. I don't respond, but all the time, and I'm allowed to do that. I could bring a container of stuff in, and as long as I've got the certification and everything, and introduce it into the market, we do that. But I'm sure many of the people in this industry have had the same experience, but we don't do that, and it's not, it has lots of problems there, but that happens all the time.
Wow. Okay. I mean, this is, and I know that, I know Tony's off in the States now, enjoying the good life.
Good for him. Well,
there was, absolutely. But there was something that he said in his first conversation with us, which really resonated with me, which was, in his view, we didn't hold ourselves to a high enough standard as an industry.
Yeah.
It was I'll be electrical wholesaler and then move on, or I'll go into manufacturing and move on. And we don't give the weight or the credence to the products that we're installing. Some of them, with the load bearing stuff, it's so critical. And I'm wondering if there's an element here of, you've got that ability to bring in a container of tube, like you just said, for probably a fantastic price. Whether the product lives up to that, question mark. But introducing more regulation, which people tend to get a bit scared of, which I understand. But should we be doing that to elevate ourselves? We're such an integral part of the UK economy.
Yeah, I think maybe we do underestimate ourselves in the supply chain.
I'd say so.
We are an important, and we have access to many products, and it's our duty of care to make sure we're supplying the right products into the market. So yeah, we probably don't hold ourselves up. People have said, "What do you do?" I say, "I work for an electrical wholesaler." Yeah, and nobody really knows what they do. You're a doctor, you're a nurse.
Yeah,
people know what you do, but from an electrical wholesaler, some people know what that is. But we don't probably appreciate how important we are and the importance of what we do. Like you say, putting those products into the market. We have a responsibility. So I think you're spot on.
Well, we're literally the backbone of the country.
Yeah,
if you think about it,
Yeah, look, wherever you're looking at building products or electrical products or plumbing products, we all have a duty of care to make sure that the products we supply into the market are fit for purpose. This, the Grenfell thing and many other instances over the years has been there where it's just scraped in on the standards possibly. I don't know where that sits, but it's just there. Yeah. The standards are too wide. They should be
massively.
That's a standard. You've all got to comply to that. Not.
Yeah.
I worked in manufacturing for a few years on the plastics, selling dado and conduit, and the specification for 20mm PVC conduit. You had a huge parameter.
Yeah.
I worked for Univolt, and we were right at they were at the top, as many like Marshalls and everybody else. And MK, you're all up there. So it's quality, but you can import some real rubbish, and it's yellow and it's awful. So even when I was in that short time in the manufacturing world, there's such an array of it ticks the box, but it's not good enough for what you'd want to fit into your house or into your building. So yeah.
I know when we were talking beforehand, and I used the word ambiguity, and that's what it feels like. Those those parameters for what's acceptable are so far apart.
Yep.
And even though we've got British standards and they're pretty clear, we're still, we're always having to educate. Even on the markings, because if you're missing, like tube for example, there's 4 digits as part of the Plus A1 2019 addition to the standard, and you've got to have 4 digits on every single length of tube. And if you don't have even one of those 4 digits, it does not comply. And I'm hoping that's bang on correct, because my technical manager will kick the crap out of me afterwards. But it doesn't comply.
Yeah.
And even if you've got 2 products that are exactly the same in composition, in strength, in tensility. If it's missing that one, well then they're not. That one complies and that one doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think that concerns me, because we're always trying to operate at that. Like I said to you outside, when products come in and they're not to our standards, at the moment, and not to slander the industry, but they might be to the industry standards at the moment.
Yep.
But they're not to ours, so they go into quarantine, and we don't want yourselves or certainly the end user to be the final quality check. And I think it's so difficult, because it needs we almost need like a collective mentality shift, which is quite difficult to encourage.
Yeah, I think that's going back to what we said earlier, is the education across the industry, that those 4 digits on a piece of steel conduit is as important as the size, and it's a class 4.
Absolutely.
And that if that's not on there, and I touched on it earlier, but I don't know enough to comment with this SCEB, which is skills, knowledge, experience and behaviour, that the EDA did a bit of a forum on. That may change a few things, where the contractors, I believe, are required to make sure that what they're fitting and that the behaviour and everything on site is up to a certain standard. And that's what I said earlier, touch base with the guys at the ECA.
Yeah.
They'll tell you more, but I think that'll help educate and have accountability a little bit more. So maybe people will take more notice of those things when they're installing 25mm galv conduit. They go, actually, this hasn't got that 4-digit on.
Yeah.
And raise somebody's awareness, because that's where the difference can be made from we supplying your products and then they're supplying somebody else's. That's the difference.
Yeah.
And the contractor will see that. We can't see that. The wholesaler could say it is, but until it's delivered to site, you don't really know.
Yeah.
So I think what the ECA are doing and some of the new legislation that will come through will help us. It won't be immediate. It will take time.
Mm-hmm.
It will certainly help with the bigger premises we were saying earlier, so the more commercial and industrial premises. On the domestic side, I don't think it'll have such an impact.
Yeah.
Because there's less control over the domestic environment.
Mm-hmm.
But from the little I understood of that side of what they were saying, that will help.
Yeah.
But again, it's education from the ECA, the NIC, and from the manufacturers and wholesalers. So it's everybody, and the contractor. A lot of contractors know what they're doing in respect of making sure that the quality of the product's there. And I don't want for anybody to think that they don't. But if they're not educated, how are they supposed to know?
Yeah.
So if they're going, look, I've been told this is fit for purpose, how are they? They're not an expert in that. That's part of our duty of care, and the manufacturers to make sure we're supplying that. The contractor trusts us to supply a product that is at the right British standards and it's fit for purpose. So they have to trust us. There's a trust element there, and that's the bit that we can let them down with. Is if we don't.
Sorry about that. We're
That's
back.
Right.
Apparently, it was fire alarm testing day, and
I thought I'd said something I shouldn't have said. Then the alarms are going off. So.
Yeah, it's God's censoring. Yeah. So we were talking about trust, which was I found really important. Because just to reference Tony again, that was what he saw as missing from the industry. Yeah. So, of course, you were quite right in what you said about if you supply an inferior product to a contractor, then why would they come back to AT&T? Yeah. And I think that's the same. That's the same for us as well. If we supply you with inferior, non-compliant, or issue-riddled products, why would you want to work with Metpro ever again?
Yeah, I think tongue in cheek. We want an easy life.
Yeah.
And if you're supplying products that are creating you problems all the time, you have a harder life. So why would you want to do that? Not just for me as a wholesaler, but for the contractor, the headache that they would have is just not worth the hassle. So that trust element right through, and I'm not on the sales side. So Adrian, John, Jamie, and all the sales team, their relationships are built on trust. Yeah, with most of their customers, and they trust us to supply the products, and the guys trust me to make sure I'm delivering that to them, so they can sell that to the customers. So this whole tripartite, if you like, so manufacturer, wholesaler, and contractor is key, and the contractor supplier relationship is key as well. That's a trust thing. So we do a lot of events where suppliers attend and meet our customers, so that if they have a problem, they can ask a few questions. Larry's coming in something on Tuesday, and then he'll do our golf day, and he gets to meet our customers as well, because that whole supply chain is important. So trust is so important, that I know that if I'm buying a product from yourselves, unless it's an exception, it's a bad batch and it's just slipped through, it's not going to hit my desk. There's something. It's always something. I'm not blind to that, but you're minimising the risk to the end client, to the contractor, and also that hassle. I always say to a supplier, if a problem's hit my desk, you're a good supplier. Yeah. The suppliers that constantly hit my desk because of quality issues, I'll reevaluate that, and then okay, guys, what we're doing here? Yeah, we're going through that. This is creating us a problem with our contractors, and the feedback from the contractor to our internal team, then to me, they'll say that we've got a problem with PVC tape,
right,
for example, or a cable tie, whatever that be. I'll talk to the manufacturer and find out. It could be they've had a bad batch. It could be they've changed something and not supplied the information back to us. And then I'll evaluate what we do on that product, not necessarily the supply, but the product, because it's important we're giving the end contractor the right quality product. Because even down a roll of tape, that can create a bit of an hassle for a contractor when he's trying to open it. It's a cold morning.
Yeah.
Simple things that I don't necessarily see, but the feedback comes to me. So we want to be supplying the end user with products that are good, and they're trusting us to do that.
Absolutely. I think there's an element here as well that we haven't talked about, which is product quality is absolutely paramount and fantastic. But I know AT&T is big on this as well as customer service.
Yep.
So if in the event that there's going to be a product issue or there's going to be a delivery issue, whatever it might be, certainly at MetPro we like to be proactive in that sense. Why would we wait for you to have to face the issue, take the time and call us, and we can proactively tell you what's going on. You're aware of it, you've got to adjust, but isn't that the right way to do things?
Yeah. Not everyone does that supply-wise.
Right.
Not all our supply chain does that. We have one of the guys in the purchasing team. His job is literally every day he's chasing orders that are due and even some that's overdue, to try and be ahead of the game, so we can inform our customers. But because of supply issues over the last few years, it's been very, very difficult.
Yeah, it's not been an easy time.
It's a lot better than it was, but some suppliers will give you a date, and that date will push back, and they'll push back. But what they fail to realise is that contract is maybe on a penalty clause.
Yeah.
And we've had it recently where we've had to change. We said to the contractor, look, these are not going to be here in time for you. What do you want to do? And we've helped them find an alternative brand that they'll be there, and they're happy with that. So it's part of our helping and trust. But that is being a proactive rather than a reactive business. And we try to do that. We can't always get it right.
No.
We've had instances where we've told the contractor everything's going to come on time and it doesn't turn up, and the manufacturer hasn't informed us or has not had that information. So that's to me is probably the biggest frustration.
Yeah.
It's about that proactivity. We try to, but we can't always get that from the supply chain to be as proactive as we'd like.
Well, there's so many moving parts in there. You can only do so much as long as you're doing everything that you possibly can. I mean, what more can people ask from you? And invariably, I assume you're getting it right.
Yeah.
And it's no different for us, by the way. But I think what you've said there about a lot of suppliers may not operate in that way, in that proactive sense, I find that quite intriguing, because I know there's been a lot of concern over the years, which was compounded with COVID and this rise of online sellers. And that's your biggest differentiator, to be proactive and have that, some technical nous as well. And all of a sudden they might be cheaper and you'll get it tomorrow, but you don't know what you're going to get, and they're not going to help you with it either. Why wouldn't we? For me, it goes back to holding ourselves that higher standard again. But just bringing the conversation back to trust. Do you think that's in short supply throughout the supply chain?
It's a good question. Probably, yeah. In respects that people are a little bit dubious of everything. So it's not that they don't want to trust. I think they find it hard to trust. Because they've all been let down. So the contract's been let down, the wholesale's been let down, the manufacturer's been let down across that chain. So we'd like to trust, but I think we find it difficult because it's like we're going to get caught out here somewhere. So that's the proactivity part. And again, that's why we're trying to align ourselves with the manufacturers that we trust, that can give us that clarity and have an honest conversation. And if there is a difficulty, I know Larry would pick the phone up to me and say, Ian, we've got a real problem here. What do we want to do? And he's more than happy to talk to the contractor himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I'm talking about, this tri-party thing. It's all right, I was saying to the contractor, but actually if it comes from the manufacturer, it holds a lot more weight in some respects. Because this is the manufacturer saying, look, it isn't AT&T's fault, this is a supply chain issue. So, what can we do to help that? So I don't think it's just about the trust element isn't just about giving them the right information about delivery times and everything, but it's also about a solution. Trusting you to find a solution if there is a problem. Yeah. So if we can't get your conduit on site for whatever, right, okay, we can't do that. What can we do? Yeah. So that's all part of the trust element of the contractors trust AT&T like they'll trust all the other wholesalers that they deal with to deliver a solution. So that whole trust element, I think we find it difficult to trust. Yeah. We like to trust, and because we've already been let down, it becomes problematic. But if you can consistently help the contractor, help the wholesaler, that trust becomes a lot stronger. And when there is a problem, and there is no smoke and mirrors about a problem, be honest, that's when the trust breaks down. Yeah. If somebody tries to tell you some untruth, that's when the problems arise, and you find out. Just be honest. Yeah, and we can solve the problem. And I say to internally in the business, whatever it be, whether it be trade accountants, a warehouse, in purchasing, if you don't pick it up at the start, that problem magnifies and becomes bigger. If we be honest and open at the start of the problem, and we can usually fix it. If you try and hide that or don't be honest about
or double down on the thing,
it becomes bigger. So that's right through the supply chain. So that's also the trust element. I think it's about they trust you to find a solution as well as be honest about what's happening.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I like that. Yeah. Really, really interesting.
It's encouraging. I live in an ideal world, me sometimes, but that's what I try to. You have to have an ethical view. Adrian, who owns our business, that's part of the reason I'm here is his ethical view on what we do with the contractor, the customers, that, and it goes right through our supply chain. And it's a big thing for me.
Okay. Yeah, you can see that. It's very evidently sincere. And in fact, that takes me to my next question. How does AT&T? How do you determine which brands that you want to work with?
We categorise our suppliers gold, silver, bronze, and project. Okay. We're part of Fajin Buying Group, which helps us straight away with the quality of suppliers that we deal with. So my drive is that all our supply chain is gold and silver. Right. Projects to the side, because there are certain suppliers you deal with that you deal with them once in a blue moon, and it will already be project. But stock lines in our supply chain, I have a sort of a tick box in effect, which is you pot for Gene, that's a big tick. The commercials are right. Do you do marketing support? Do you do training days? Do you do project work? And a various of other things that helps me determine if that supply, the manufacturer, fits in with what we're trying to do. And I'm honest. I try to. Hopefully the manufacturers that I deal with out there will say that I don't give them any false hopes. I'll say, look, work with the team. I don't sell the kit. Yeah, and I'm driven by the sales side, saying we do that, but the vetting of those suppliers is important, so that the sales team have the confidence to know that the products that they're supplying into our customers are right. We get the best commercial terms, because obviously we're all in business and that's what we're here to do. It's not a dirty word. We're all here to make a bit of money. Whether it be the contractor, sales, and manufacturers, that's what it's about. We're all here to make a living, and so the commercial terms are massively important. Obviously, that's my primary goal with what I do in supply. The supply negotiations is making sure I get the best commercial terms for AT&T. But by that, I commit to that supplier. Right. I go, I'll put my flag in your corner. Yeah. You are a key supplier to us. We stock your products, and AT&T stock. That's one thing we are very proud of. We will stock a product. Sometimes it backfires because we're left with a bit of dead stock, but that's the risk you take. Yeah. But I'm also a believer, rightly or wrongly, that your world is steel. So you live, you breathe, everything you do day in, day out, you're driving the market, the standards on steel. Yeah. So I'd rather deal with somebody whose lifeblood it is, and put the flag in that corner, than a supplier who has it as part of their portfolio of products. Right. Yeah. Because if I put the phone up to Larry and say, Larry, I've got a problem here, can you help me? instantly he knows the technical side of it and why and what for. But I can ring up another supplier who has a portfolio of their products and go, I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
I've got to find out.
Yeah.
And that's the trust and confidence I come back to. So we talk about lighting, we talk about cable, we talk about all these products. We try, if you look at the brands that we deal with, it's what they do day in, day out.
Yeah.
They're not a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, but for our type of customer and our business, I need that reassurance that we're supplying the products, and I can get instant answers and support.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm dealing with suppliers that supply many products, and steel being one of them, they don't have the range necessarily. But they don't have the depth of technical support and the, I've seen here your quality your quality section, and that's the reassurance for me that I know that's there. So that's what we try to do, and the internal team, the external team, can look on our system straight away and see if a supplier is a gold or a silver.
Okay.
If the bronze or project, and those bronze suppliers they're not part of a regime. There's no commercial terms. They're not a stock line. We buy from them because that's what the customer has asked for. Project suppliers tends to be lighting more than anything else.
Right.
Along those sort of lines. So we try and keep it very simple because I'm a simple kind of guy. So it's easy for everybody to understand.
Yeah.
And then we support those suppliers with stock, with introduction to our customers, and supporting them as best as we can.
Brilliant. Excellent. Okay. So like I said, I know I mentioned it earlier, but you really do. You're very much in that back to brands mindset.
Yeah.
And it's really nice to really encouraging.
It's difficult. It has its challenges because we're always being challenged on price.
Yeah.
And we do have to find alternative supply where required. But our strength is education of our staff and the customers, and fortunately our customers have that knowledge and understand and are open to listening to why we're supplying a certain product. Some brands drive themselves because they're market leaders, and that's fine, but certain areas it's a little bit more challenging, but that's our belief right through the business is supporting those brands that support us, that support the market. So it's not just about supporting AT&T, but it's about supporting the market as a whole. I know what you guys do here with regarding Walsall College and things like that. That to me is important because you're giving back to not just the community but the industry. So all of those things to me, look, will it make a difference on the commercial terms? No, but I know that we're doing the right thing by dealing with those suppliers that support locally, nationally, and try and do the right thing with the industry.
Well, I do think we have an obligation to do things like that. And like I said, we can't. It would be very. I think it would be. It wouldn't be good of us to sit here and have conversations like this, and spout things that sound wonderful and then not act on them.
No, it's challenging.
We just end up with egg on our face and just look stupid. So, we've got an obligation, and we really we've always had the philosophy of quality of product, quality of service, and as Metpro's grown, our profile has, we like to think, grown with that, and we do like to think that we're reputable, and we do what we say, and keep things simple. And make ourselves as easy to do as possible.
Yeah, keeping things simple is because we don't have the time to there are so many complexities out there that we have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. That supply chain for me is important, and for the team, Larry knows our sales team. He knows the MD, he knows the sales director, he knows the branch director, he knows the team. So any one of them can talk to Larry, and that relationship and Larry and the importance of what we do is so critical. But it is challenging. It is challenging every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's what keeps it fun, though.
Earn my crust.
I've just got one more question around product quality, which is how much weight do you or does AT&T give to British standards?
That's key. We don't supply anything that's not British standards.
Excellent.
Nothing. No, I don't think. Certainly, that I can think of, we wouldn't deal with any supplier that doesn't adhere to that. Like I said earlier, I have a lot of emails and a lot of offers, but they just delete it straight away. I don't even once I've read the first line, I don't know what they are. They're deleted. So and that's joining with regime. That's part of the vetting service, to make sure that their supply. So it helps all the members of the group to know that, they are a British standard supply. So without doubt, none of our products is I wouldn't dream of it. I wouldn't sleep at night.
And that's what I was talking about earlier with some of the ambiguity around this stuff, and the fact that you could, if you wanted to, you could answer an email and say, crack on.
Yep.
And that would just, that's what I find incredible, is that would just enter the market.
Yep.
And be installed.
Yep. Yeah.
And then who knows what the hell's going to happen.
Something may never happen, but it's only when something goes wrong that people start to investigate, and that's the unfortunate side of it. Is that I go back to the Grenfell thing, that only got investigated because of the tragedy. Had that not happened, more and more of that
it would still be a ticking time bomb,
and there would have been more and more installed. So it's such it's a tragedy. We have to wait for those tragedies to happen to actually reevaluate British standards and the tightening of those.
Absolutely.
So I wouldn't even dream of it. And everything we do, all our products are on a system are tighter lookings in one way, shape or form. And on that you have a data sheet, and on there's the British standards, and the same with what the EDA are doing with eTIM and eData. All that information is there. So we make sure that we're supplying the British standard products without a doubt. There's no greyness about that. It's very, very black and white.
Excellent. Yeah, same for us.
Yep.
I mean, I know that you are right in that. Unfortunately, disasters sometimes have to happen for us to understand where we've gone wrong. But I think I speak on behalf of MetPro when we will do everything that we can to prevent any disaster. Hence operating within line with every single British standard that we can.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, just moving on then to kind of the wrap up section. What do you see as the greatest opportunities for wholesalers in the UK market right now?
Wow, there's a question and a half. I think as big a challenge is probably online, as you touched on. That's a challenge for us because that drives habit and drives price, but that has its limitations.
Yep.
Because I've been in this industry since '88, and I've built a depth of knowledge, as many people have. That's our strength. And going back to what you said earlier about, do we undervalue ourselves? That's the value we bring.
Yeah.
So that experience, that knowledge, is probably the greatest opportunity to make sure we don't fall victim and be. We don't do any. We have no online presence, as in we don't sell online.
Okay.
Because the demographics of our customer base don't buy online.
Yeah.
And there'll always be those. There are people who will buy online, and that's the nature. I buy online. I use Amazon and all these other wonderful things. So we will do that as part of our world today. But the differentiator is that the knowledge when somebody, not the contractors don't always know the part number. They don't always necessarily know what they need. They rely on our expertise to help them with that. So when there is a sort of, we need a product, part of our support and help to the contractor is giving them options.
Yeah.
They can't always do that online. They just want to give us a list of products and from the days of old being wrote on a piece of paper, now it's an email, whatever it be. They're not part numbers necessarily. They're a description of what they need. So that's the strength of our industry. We have to adapt and change, without a doubt. I'll never say we may have an online presence at a point, but today it's not what we need. Something we're looking at. Some people do really well online, and it's great. But we have to bring value add to the customer.
I agree.
Everybody, all of us will have our own differentiators of what makes us different. That's why it's such a great market and diverse, because we all have something slightly different to bring to the table. But that proactivity, being at the forefront of products, and I think if I look back, we're a victim of allowing certain sectors to get a grip. So you look at data way back in when that first started. Wholesalers had a chance to be in on that. We didn't really grab that and take it on board as a stock line because, it was a little bit of an unknown.
Yeah.
And we allowed specialist wholesalers or specialist distributors to come online. So we lost a section there. And that I could probably think of another 2 or 3 where that's happened over the years. And we've got to embrace new technology. We've got to embrace change.
Yeah.
Some businesses are more adapt to that. And some businesses are very good at doing a very localized supply, which is great. But there are challenges for us every day, but don't underestimate what we do bring to the table.
Yeah.
And the market's huge. There's enough for us all.
Yeah.
And work together a little bit more to if we all kind of work together to say we're not going to supply these inferior products, they would disappear overnight.
Yes.
They would go 12, 18 months, they would go because nobody's buying them. While we do that as an industry, we're not helping ourselves because we're always driving towards the bottom. So that's a challenge, that's a problem, but it's an opportunity as well that we can be more coherent in what we do.
Yeah.
But as I say, the boys on the sales side, they'll tell you more about the opportunities out there on the sales side. But I just see it from my side of what we can do, and I think the supporting of suppliers is critical, and it certainly put us in good stead. And who knows where what tomorrow holds? We don't, but you can just try to do the right thing with everything you do with the supply chain, with the customers, and hopefully it opens up new opportunities because. Who would have thought 10 years ago we are where we are with the online trading?
Yeah,
it was it evolved so quick, and I don't know what tomorrow will bring, and we just have to be ready to adapt and change.
Absolutely. And I mean, you've kind of alluded to it somewhat, but the final question here really is: how do you think that manufacturers, wholesalers, suppliers, and then beyond into FM can work together better?
It's just talking. Simple as that. I again, sort of harp on now. When I first started in the industry, we didn't have mobile phones. Yeah, we thought pages were revolutionary when they came in. So, you talk to everybody. Manufacturers, contractors, you talk. We don't talk enough.
No.
I think that's part of the problem. And we should talk more across. Wholesalers shouldn't be afraid for a manufacturer to talk to a contractor for the fear of the manufacturer taking that business direct.
Absolutely not.
That's a fear, I think, because it's happened in the past.
Yep.
So I think there's a fear that if you introduce a manufacturer to your customer, that's going to jeopardise your relationship. It should strengthen it.
Yeah.
And I think, but the manufacturer has they're key in getting that education at a higher level and down, because no matter what we do, we can't push it up up that sort of educational tree. So I think it's that bringing both together. So there's an education from the top and from the wholesaler upwards. But just talk more. We just don't talk.
It's incredible when you think about it.
Yeah.
We've got all this new technology, and we're all more connected than we've ever been before. Yeah. And I apply this to personal life as well. Yeah. And we're at the same time we're less connected locally. It's so strange to me.
I mean, like, look, we all send messages all the time because it's a quick and easy. You never know when people are in a meeting. But I get frustrated when you just pick the phone up and talk.
Absolutely.
It's the easiest form of communication, and there's no ambiguity in it.
No.
There's no misunderstanding of what's in an email or what's in a message.
Or tone of voice or anything.
So it's there.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to do. Get back to that.
Yeah.
It's what we did before all this technology came in. Yeah. Like you say, we've got more platforms to do it on, but just talk more and not be afraid to open the doors up a little bit more, so that trust, as we went back on earlier, builds up, and the contractors trust the manufacturing supply chain, because I don't know what the contractors think of the manufacturing supply chain. They may trust them, they may not. But that communication is key.
And I think, in that as well, if you start to have more conversations and you open those doors a bit more, all of a sudden, instantly, you'll start to lessen that wholesaler, manufacturer, contractor umbrella.
Yep.
And then you do get down to the individual.
And totally, yeah, I think, and also when you sit around a table and you're talking, or whether it be over a beer or you're having a coffee, whatever, when you start to talk to people, ideas spring up.
Yeah.
And you start going, oh, do you know what? I never thought of that. Or I didn't know you did that. Yeah. I didn't know what you did. So those conversations are not only just about a specific thing you want to talk about, but they evolve into something more.
Absolutely.
So when I'm talking to, Larry, we're talking about what you do, but then I might say to Larry, I'm looking at this and it might spring something his and something then you want to do.
Yeah.
And that's what that's what a conversation is. It's expanding ideas. And that's the future, is looking at where the market's going to go, how we can be different and what we can be in table. But it's all about talking.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Ian, that's been absolutely brilliant. And thank you again for coming in. I suppose, is there anything exciting that AT&T's got coming up you want to share? Or
well, it's 25 years this year for Adrian.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so it's his 25th, so silver wedding for him. So yeah, we've got a few events going on this year. Sort of the golf day will be expanded a little bit. And we had the EDA dinner last week, and we've got a thing where Larry's attending next week with some contractors. So yeah, lots of events going through the years. But I think it's just really we opened up a couple of new branches over the last couple of years, so solidifying
Excellent.
Now and just getting back to a bit of grassroots. Me being a bit more wholesale-ified because I've had so much going on the last couple of years that I just want to be back into wholesaling. But yeah, the big one for AT&T is the 25 years this year. So
excellent.
Yeah.
Well, huge congratulations from us to the team.
Yeah,
if people want to reach out and talk to you directly, is it a LinkedIn job, email?
Yeah, it doesn't matter. Yeah, but if you LinkedIn, if not, you've got my email address on Don't Hide Away. So yeah, feel free.
Fab. Well, Ian, thanks again for coming in. Really insightful. As always, we hope anybody listening, watching has gained something from this. And we'll see you on the next one.
No,
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Cheers,
Much
mate.
Thank you.